Blood on the leaves and blood at the roots. Hey everybody, this is Stephanie Renee. It has been a while, much longer than I ever anticipated since the last time I've greeted you with this information, but life sometimes gets in the way. And between a huge allergic reaction I had that sent me to the hospital and then starting some other new professional projects, I have not been able to spare the time to come back and talk to you all about DNA testing and genealogy. And so rather than try to ramp back up here at the end of 2021, what I want to do is just take a moment to recap some of the big lessons of the last few episodes of the show that I think will guide you properly as we head into 2022, especially because the holidays are always a time when a lot of people get DNA tests and you make them a family project while you all are together for the holidays, which is wonderful. But that means that in early 2022, you're going to have new results to look at together and try to analyze. And so hopefully these little pointers that I'm going to share with you all today will help to guide you through that process. And then when we come back early next year, we can get back to the specifics of the data and I can help you begin to wade through that process. So I've pulled out 5 main lessons or points of view that I hope you will hold close to you over the next few weeks and give you a foundation for us to continue building when we come back on the other side of our New Year's celebration. So let's get to it. The first one is a rule that I hope you will definitely keep at heart, especially if you all have been, taking advantage of these sales and buying tests for you and your loved ones during the holiday season. Don't mind my dog in the background, but it's to do not bother to DNA test without building a family tree, period. The end. What happens is that you will get overwhelmed with data that you will have absolutely no point of reference to compare it to if you do not have a family tree beforehand. Now, for those of you who are adopted, I understand that you will not have a real strong base of knowledge to go from. So any data is good data as far as you all are concerned. And I wish you all the success in the world along your journey. But your goal then should be to reverse engineer a family tree based on the data. For those of you who think you know what you know, then having a family tree to compare the results to will also help you along your journey in understanding precisely how you are related to the people who you will get back in your DNA test results as being your kinfolk. Okay, so that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is a piggyback off of what I just offered, which is cherish the anecdotes until they are disproven. Now, among Black folks, we say all the time that it's a running myth among Black folks that we have Indian in our family. And so a lot of people are DNA testing just so they can figure out how much Indian they have and where they think it came from. And then if you're like me, even though I didn't go into my DNA testing with a belief of that myth, when you come back with 0% Native American, then it doesn't surprise you. I have ethnic balances that fall within that, kind of Asian presenting or Native American presenting family, but it's mostly Asian. And that makes sense because I have Caribbean roots, right? So there's a whole level of understanding when you get the data back. And there will be people who will argue with you about their results and say, well, it can't be right because this, that, and the other thing that the family stories tell them. And I'm saying that those family stories are important, right? They came down to you from generations ahead of you, and they're things that you might have heard your whole life. And there are a lot of people who will argue that the databases in DNA testing companies are not wide enough. But the reality is that there are people who come back with Native American percentages. It's just that most of them are not Black folks. So we have to understand that sometimes those anecdotes, well-meaning as they may be, are not our reality, and accept that when you get those results back from the test. Along with that, my third rule is to honor our ancestors, but do not believe them implicitly, please. One of the things that DNA testing helps us understand is that our elders, our ancestors were human, and that there may have been relationships that nobody but them and another person knew about, and some of those relationships resulted in children. So those people who come back as related to you on the DNA test, even if they have last names that you are completely unfamiliar with, it doesn't mean that they're not your relatives. And it doesn't mean that you have to have any kind of ill feelings toward your ancestors that were the branch that helped to create them on your family tree. It is what it is. All of us are here now, and we need to deal with the reality of being here and understanding that the DNA tests don't lie. If you share DNA with someone, you had a common ancestor somewhere, and now we just have to do the work. And I hope that you will test and commit to doing the work, to figuring out how you are related to the people, even if you don't go all the way down to your most distant matches, but finding out how you're related to the people who are at least your first, second, maybe even third cousins can be extremely helpful in you understanding how your family tree came to be. Okay. With that in mind, rule number 4, understanding the science will keep you from chasing ghosts. And what do I mean when I say that? It is that when you can see with your own eyes that you and a particular person share a percentage of DNA, and both 23andMe and Ancestry now will estimate your relationship and give you probabilities. Actually, Ancestry does give you probabilities of what your relationship to that person is based on the amount of DNA you share. Then you know that you are looking in a particular generation, in a particular direction, to figure out how you and this person are connected. And it can help you correct your family tree. Unfortunately, there are folks whose ancestors would not tell them about a parent or a grandparent because of emotional hurts and other things that come along. But rather than going after the myth, going after the story, once you have the science in front of you, you can follow the science to get to your truth. And that is why, going back to rule number 1, I say it does not do you any service to DNA test without building a family tree. It just doesn't. Because then you're only relying on the stories and you're not relying on the science. The science helps you get to your truth. Trust it and build on it. Okay. And our last rule, my number 5 of this journey, is to allow for expansion of your concept of the word family. I have found in my journey that some of my second, third, and fourth cousins have been extremely helpful in allowing me to build an accurate family tree and to help figure out these pathways that brought our ancestors together that helped to create me. And so in that journey, I had to rely on people that I never sat around a holiday meal with, and people that I don't even know well, but I've gotten to know as a part of this process because they were also interested in knowing their truth. And so when our names popped up on each other's DNA relatives list, we did the work to figure out how we're connected. Some of us still don't know exactly how that happened, but we're on the journey together. And that's incredibly comforting and helpful for people who get surprising results back after you DNA test. Sometimes this road is not easy and it can be very lonely when the things you thought you knew turn out to be not your truth at all. And so for those people who are willing to walk the walk with you and help you figure it out, they are invaluable. And so that fourth cousin on your mama's side that you never knew you had could turn out to be a really, really great ally and accomplice in doing this work. And so, with that being said, I hope that you all will really dig into the process and allow yourself the opportunity to discover something you never knew and to put in the facts, the data, the actual names and dates and other important parts of your history that led to you to a document, to some kind of working knowledge that you can take and learn from, and then hopefully continue to pass down the line so that future generations don't have to do this same legwork. Let what you are doing be a foundation to be passed down to future generations so that everybody knows the history and can embrace it in the way that you are. And not everybody is going to be as passionate as you are. I can guarantee you that. But at the end of the day, I really hope that you will create some kind of tool that those who are interested can use and pass down. Okay. One of the final things I want to leave you with is that if you ever come up with a question, have an idea for how we can strengthen what we share here at Blood at the Roots, or things that we should cover as a part of this conversation, send me an email, vibemistress@soul-sanctuary.net. I promise you that I will receive them eagerly. I will read everything, and I will try to address whatever your thoughts or concerns are in the next episode or in a future episode. I wish everyone a safe end to 2021, and here's to praying that all these variants leave us alone so that we can gather in person more often in 2022. And certainly for all of you who have had to put off family reunions or holiday gatherings just because you're trying to be safe, I hope that we all get an opportunity to be in each other's space more often in the new year, especially to share the good news that we are discovering about our families and our bloodlines. See you in 2022.